Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live, all the way live from Black Pearl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. Okay, look, I'm only gonna hold y'all for an hour, like I do every Thursday. But when y'all get done listening to the ladies tonight, because you know I got a sister board going on here tonight, y'all go listen and hear what they was doing in Washington when the insurrectionists were trying to overturn the election. They're going to outline everything your former Orange Menace was doing instead of calling for help to squash the madness. So when you get done with this and you get this love that we bring in and all this positive energy that we're bringing, go find out so that you can tell your people so they don't vote for that clown no more and get all the people that was asking for pardons out of their seats too. So we got a lot of work to do. But first, you know me, I got a rant. The AP reports leaders of Indiana's Republican-dominated Senate on Wednesday proposed banning abortion with limited exceptions, a move that comes amid a political firestorm over a 10-year-old rape victim who came to the state from neighboring Ohio to end her pregnancy. The Indiana proposal would allow exceptions to the ban, such as in cases of rape, incest, or to protect a woman's life. Republican State Senator Sue Glick, who is sponsoring the bill, said the proposal would not limit access to emergency contraception known as the morning after pill or limit doctors from treating miscarriages or ectopic pregnancies. Indiana Republicans proposed banning abortion with exceptions. Y'all, I understand what they're trying to say, and they're saying, well, you know, we're going to carve out these exceptions and the emergency life of the mother and rape and incest. But here you go again. Now, I found it interesting that they did have Sue draft the bill, because I have been quite critical of a bunch of old men crafting bills that speak to a woman's body and her health. But they were brilliant this time. They said, oh, well, could you write this bill? Of course she did, because they do things. They lockstep with each other. They don't think for themselves. But this is still bad, y'all. This is still very, very bad. State Senate President Pro Tem outlines proposed legislation on abortion and financial relief, but there's a problem, right? There shouldn't ever be a reason why someone else should determine what a woman does with her body. So that is why on Monday, if you can, right? If you can, you still got to make it to the State House. The bill would prohibit abortions from the time an egg is implanted in a woman's uterus. Okay, I want you to understand that. We don't know from the time the fertilized egg is in the woman's uterus. That is some small details right there. Planned Parenthood Indiana affiliate criticized the bill, saying in a news release that a complete ban on abortion is on its way to Indiana. Even the bill's limited exceptions would leave providers risking investigations and even criminalizations, making them exceptions in name only, said the organization. The proposal was unveiled Wednesday, faces at least a couple of weeks of debate. Republican House Speaker Todd Houston didn't endorse the bill, saying in a statement, "Our caucus will take time to review and consider the details of the Senate bill and continue to listen to thoughts and input from constituents across the state." Well, we know that particular statement sounds good, but homeboy ain't really been listening to the constituents, so why would he start now? Now all of a sudden he wants to hear what we have to say? And honestly, if it's not your body, don't worry about it. If you don't want to have an abortion, you don't like abortions, don't have one. It's really that simple. I just don't understand why people are so concerned about what a woman does with her body, but they won't do anything about those people who are running around with AR-15 shooting up other people. I thought they was pro-life. No, they're pro-birth. July 1st, open carry in Indiana. And I know y'all want to tell me about the Good Samaritan down in Greenwood at the Greenwood Mall who shot and killed someone who was trying to cause mass confusion and mass havoc. Yes, thank goodness he's a good shot. Thank goodness he had the fortitude to do what was right and save people. Yes, he is a hero. However, How many people have actually taken the proper gun training? How many people have actually done all the work to understand gun safety, to be in a mall, which he wasn't actually supposed to be in a mall with a firearm, to be clear. So we're going to look over the fact that he broke the law, but he saved some lives. And again, I'm not trying to hate on him because he saved lives, but we won't look at new gun regulation to protect people from people obtaining really harmful and military style guns legally. But we're going to crawl all the way up into a woman's uterus and tell her what she can and can't do with her body. We got to work on this. So I'll see y'all at the State House on the 25th. Yes, I'll be there. The Indiana State Republicans are proposing a bill for the upcoming special session that will throw out Governor Holcomb's proposed $225 taxpayer refund and instead offer Hoosiers a 6-month suspension on sales tax on residential utilities. This suspension would include the 7% sales tax on electricity, water, gas, internet, and phone bills. We have had ongoing discussions about what is the best way to provide relief to Hoosiers in this environment of high inflation, says Senate bill author Travis Holdman of Markle. By suspending the 7% sales tax on residential utilities, we can provide relief to nearly every Hoosier with an estimated statewide savings of $260 million. This concept would benefit more people than the proposed taxpayer refund, and all of those savings would go to Indiana households. The proposal to do away with the proposed $225 inflation relief check to Hoosiers comes just one day after Holcomb urged lawmakers to act quickly in getting financial relief to Hoosiers. While many Hoosiers are still waiting for their $125 automatic taxpayer refund, Holcomb proposed agreeing to his second check of $225 by August. Now, see, this is again where I have an issue. Like, yes, who couldn't use some help on their utilities? Absolutely. Absolutely. People can always use help on their utilities. But why are you telling me how to get my money back and how I'm supposed to use it? If you give me the $225, I might need that for milk for my children. I might need that for gas since you raised the gas tax, the gas tax in Indiana on July 1st. I may need that for daycare. I may need that for whatever I need it for. But Republicans, again, want to dictate to you how you get your money. I prefer Governor Holcomb's plan of just giving everybody their check. Give them a check, and then you can decide for yourself what you want to do with it. But these people feel like they know better what to do with your money than what you know what to do with it. Listen, y'all, this is all connected. They're going to tell you what to do with your body. They want to tell teachers what to teach in schools. They want to tell you what to do with your tax money that you get back. That is why it is imperative that each and every one of you find a statewide candidate, find a House and Senate candidate in the State House, find some county candidates that you can support that have the same value systems that you do. For some reason, the people in the State House who don't know a woman's anatomy feel like they're smarter than every other constituent in the state, and they should be telling us how best to use our tax relief funds. That actually kind of ticked me off a little bit. I am not gonna lie. How you gonna tell me what to do with it? No, give me my money. But you know what? That's how they do. They really don't care what you think. So when Todd Houston says he's going to listen to constituents, no, he's not. He doesn't care. He's going to do what the people who fund his campaign tell him to do. That's what he's going to do. He don't care about what you're talking about. And all of these people writing all these anti-abortion bills, doggone it, get out of a woman's uterus. We are not going back. And ladies, if you can, everybody, man, hey, fellas, show up. Because, you know, maternal mortality rate in Indiana is super high, especially among Black women. And if a woman can be saved with an abortion, don't you want to be there to hold her hand when that's happening? So why don't we work on these things? But this is what's happening in our state. We got people who ain't focused on the right things. And if they knew how to govern, they would do it right, but they don't. All right, that's my rant. And listen, you know, we have an opportunity to do some amazing things in our state. We have 3 women on our statewide candidate, Destiny Wells, Zanae Brooks, and Jessica McClellan. These women are ready to rock and roll. Let's get some leadership in that State House. But tonight, I am so excited that I have 2 sisters that are running for office. They're running at the county level. You guys need to find these folks, support them. And if you like anything they're talking about, their donation buttons, they're not on ActBlue, but I'm going to get them there. We're going to get them there. Their donation links are there. So if you like what they're talking about, please, 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 please support these women, because having women on our ballot, having women who represent in our communities, especially women of color, Black women in particular, we need to support them. So first up, she's already an elected official down in Evansville. She is running for re-election for the Vanderburgh County Council, District 3. Y'all give it up for my first guest, Stephanie Terry. Stephanie, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dana. So glad to be here.
I love it. And I've already had some great conversations with this elected official. She's already elected in Allen County. She's running for the Allen County Council, District 1. Am I right? First district? Y'all give it up for my friend, Miss Paulette Nellems. Paulette, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Dana.
Oh, you cool. Okay, I gotta. She cool. All right, I'm a little hype. She brought me down. Thank you for having me. I love that. That was cool. So, ladies, how have y'all been doing? I know that there's a lot going on, and we are all focused in on what's happening at the State House on the 25th. But what's happening in your neck of the woods that you are most concerned with, or do you want to talk about either the abortion, the taxes, or the Orange Menace? Holla at me real quick, Miss Stephanie.
Well, I think, one of the things that I'm most interested in and have my eye really focused on is the use of the American Rescue dollars in our community. To the county alone, I think we received nearly about $35 million. And so we have a huge opportunity to do good in the community. We've invested in broadband and roads. And so now that we're going to be looking at how we will support some nonprofits that were impacted by the pandemic. And then even one other project, that's been in discussion is a jail expansion. And I would say we've been talking about a jail expansion for some years now. But we've not taken any steps, but we're at that point where that's going to occur. But what's really important as a part of that project is a mental health component. We know that mental health it's exploded in ways we couldn't imagine. And so how do we ensure we get people the care that they need instead of incarcerating, putting them in jail, is what I think will be important to reduce overcrowding in our jail. But then hopefully, again, get them the care that they need moving forward.
I love it. Ms. Paulette, what you concerned about before we get diving into who y'all are?
One of the things that I am seriously concerned about in my community, I serve, like you said, I serve on East Allen County School Board, but there is a proposed plan to erect a jail in my community that is probably less than 1,000 feet away from the schools that I represent. I represent those babies. Images are so important. And so I think what moved us so much when we saw the image of this police officer with his knee on George Floyd's neck, for those babies to have to go outside, look and see a jail cat corner from where they spend their free time, recess, is unacceptable. And so I am pushing for no jail on our watch in our community. And so that is a big issue that's going on in the Southeast quadrant, the area that I will represent.
Wow. I mean, now that hurts. Like, you really gonna put a jail that close to a school? Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. They would never put a jail next to a Hamilton County Southeastern or Fishers or Carmel High School. They would never even consider anything like that. They disregard our community so much. That hurts. That hurts. All right.
It hurts.
So let's get into who you guys are. Those are big topics. If you guys don't know what they're talking about, y'all need to look into them because they're in your communities. Stephanie, tell the people who you are and where you come from.
Well, I am born and raised here in Evansville. Raised in the church. My father is a pastor over across the bridge in Kentucky, just Henderson. It's about 10 minutes from Evansville. So we, we just consider it a suburb of the city. But I went away, of course, to college at HBCU at Kentucky State University. Thought at that time I was going to pursue medicine and go into med school. That didn't work out for me. Needed too much discipline and length of school requirement. And so came out with a master's, pursued health service administration, came back home to the University of Evansville. And really, I was introduced in college to a sorority that is the greatest of all, which is Delta Sigma Theta sorority. And I think that was when I really found my love and passion for service to others. And I've been doing it ever since. And came home out of college and wanted to make a difference. I made the decision to come home when I was a teen mother. And so throughout college, I, went back and forth over the weekends to see my child, but knew I had to come back home and, but wanted to do more than just work. And so I launched out and tried to run for school board. I was unsuccessful. And a couple of years later, I think people remember my name, and there was a city council counselor they wanted to get out, and they invited me to run. I was unsuccessful with that, but I learned a lot in that process. And again, left politics alone really for a few years. And just, it was about 2010 when Roy Sutton, he was a counselor on the county council for about almost 18 years, and he was relocating for his job. He called me one day and he said, "Do you want my seat?" And I said, "What?" It's not something I had thought about. And so I said, "Let's talk about it." And very quickly, the party, caucused, and I was in the seat and began to work in 2010. And then later that same year, I was then elected to the position because it happened to be a campaign year. And I'm in my third term now. I'm unopposed for the second time. And I'm really just excited about having the opportunity to serve the community. I work professionally in the nonprofit field, so I'm all about youth and education. That's what I've been doing since I got out of college and realized, nursing homes and hospitals were not the place for me. That from my heart, I can truly serve from a genuine place in the nonprofit space. And so that's who I am. And I'm looking forward to what's ahead. This year, we're probably going to talk about, what the campaign looks like. As you can imagine, being unopposed, I have a little bit more flexibility to do some things creatively and hope to do that in making sure that people know that I'm available to them and that I'm going to be a voice and for them as I continue to serve on the county council.
And see, I can't wait to talk about what your plans are, because that excites me. I like hearing you said, listen, I know I'm unopposed, but I'm still going to get out in the community because they need to know me. They need to know who's representing them. That is 100% the mentality that leaders should have. Miss Paulette, tell the people who you are and where you come from.
How much time do I have? Okay, here it is.
I will. If it gets to being too long when we can't get into some good stuff, I'm gonna cut it.
Okay, I am born and raised right here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I come from such a huge family. My mother has 17 siblings. I tell you, it is such a unique family. I love my family. My grandmother was such a powerful woman. Before, she never ran for office, but she was the captain of her neighborhood. You were not bringing any crap into her neighborhood because she would look in that window, and if she saw things that were not right, she reported it and she got things done. She was known as Mama Woods in the neighborhood. And so that's my family. I am married to the most wonderful man. I have 3 adult children. That is my most prized accomplishment. I am currently serving on East Allen County School Board. But before I even got there, I've always been an advocate for people. I remember back when I was in 6th grade, my mom, as a single mother, raising 6 children, built a home from the ground. And so back in the 60s, that was in the 60s, um, well, it was the 70s, early 70s, in the area where I live, people did not move in the area that she built a home. So she was a pioneer, hard worker. And so she moved in this area. I came out of all Black school and I moved into a predominantly white school. 25 Black kids in my school at that time, and I can name each one of them
Wow.
today. And so when I was at that school, I noticed that all of the same white children were the leaders. They always got to take the mail to the office. They were the leader in the line. You know, they got all the A's, and there was never anything for us as the people there. And so I remember gathering some of the other students there that looked like me, and I said, "Hey, look, they're not having anything for us." So I went to, he was my sixth grade teacher, but he was also serving as the principal of the school. So I went to him and said, "Hey, look, you guys are not doing anything for us." And at that time, I just said, "You're prejudiced." And this guy called my mom and said, "Hey, did you know what your daughter's doing?" And my mother said, "No, what is she doing?" And he said, "She's forming a coup at the school." But ultimately, we got, of course, the talent show. But still, it gave us the opportunity to showcase who we were, to be the leaders. And so that's where I started my service to people when I was in sixth grade. And then I went on, I graduated from Ivy Tech, a community college. So my degree is in early childhood education. And my daughter, my baby girl, went to Howard. I took her to Howard University. She and I went to a get to know Howard, if you will. The speech revolutionized the way I thought. And I came back to my community and I said, I am going to get involved in my community. I ended up being the vice president of the NAACP. I later became the president of the NAACP. After that, I noticed that in my area that I didn't like how our test scores were for our students where I lived. I lived in that district and I didn't like the test scores. They were talking about closing down our school. And so I got involved, ran for that office, school board, became a school board member. So I'm in my second term, eighth year. And like Sister Stephanie, the current county councilwoman called me up and said, "Hey," invited me to dinner and said, "Listen, when I got there, she said, look, I'm not going to run for this seat again. And I would like for you to run for this seat." I had never thought about running for county council, but people had approached me for running for different positions in the community. But I just never really thought about it because I'm so involved in my grandkids' lives. They are athletes, so I love all that. And so I didn't think about it. But anyway, I went home, discussed it with my husband. But do you know, I did not get confirmation about what I'm doing right now until this past Sunday.
Wow.
After I was in Grand Rapids over the weekend, and I my husband and I listened to, that's one of the good things that came out of the pandemic. You can now listen to church on, via Facebook or, social media. So I was listening
Get your
to my
praise on.
pastor. Oh, getting it on. I was listening to him and he came out of the book of Nehemiah. And so as we were driving back home, my husband said, well, let me listen to some old school. So we turned on G.E. Patterson, and G.E. Patterson happened to be coming out of the same book, Nehemiah 4. And I'm like, okay. Then I said, okay, that's not it. Let me listen to Keon Henderson. So I listened, and lo and behold, he came out of the same book. I said, okay, Lord, you don't have to say anything else. I hear you loud and clear. So I really got my confirmation this past Sunday that I am a servant. I'm a servant for people. And once elected as your county councilwoman, you can assure that I will fight for my community because I believe in community. I believe in opportunity. I believe in providing resources for my community, and I believe in economic development. And so me as your candidate, that's what you will get. You will get a person that's going to be engaged, a person that understands not only how to be high, but also how to understand and roll with those that are less fortunate. And that's where I'm called to, the ones that's less fortunate.
I love
and that's where,
I
that's
love
why I'm running. I am just a servant.
I love it. And see, what has gotten me hyped right now, y'all can't actually see my face, but the people can. Here we are, three, beautiful Black women in our own way, right? I'm representing the largest city. Miss Paulette is representing the second largest city, and Miss Stephanie's representing the third largest city in this state. And here we come from very different backgrounds. We all have different lived experiences, but we are all about serving. We didn't mind being leaders in places where people didn't want us to be leaders, or trying to do a thing even when folks weren't, can you, being a Black woman in Indiana ain't easy to begin with. Let me cut to the chase, right? Let me just get done with it. Being Black in Indiana, being Black woman in Indiana ain't easy, and it sure as heck ain't easy running for office. Talk about your experiences in running for office, okay? We'll start with you, Stephanie. But why would you encourage other Black women to do this?
That's a good question. It's I tell you, I've had some ups and some downs in this last 12 years being in office. But one of the things that I remember very vividly, it was almost like yesterday, when I really 12 years ago, when I first ran, I was at a candidates forum. I believe I was at the FOP, and the room was full. And I finished my presentation, and I came back, and a gentleman in the back of the room said, "You sure did sound good." And I looked, because he was being critical of the fact that he was shocked that, number one, I could present myself in the way that I did and so passionately. And that has stuck with me. I think I get constant feedback around that, to the point where I've wavered, and some people now are saying that she's too quiet and passive. But I think it's because of the feedback that I've got along the way. I don't want to appear as the angry Black woman, or because, again, as you can even tell probably right now in my delivery, I have a strong tone of voice. I was raised in a preacher's house, and so I could speak a word if I needed to, and so it comes out very aggressively and many times. And so that's been really a challenge for me, to make sure that I'm able to position myself in a way to deliver and ask questions in a way that can be received, but then also be meaningful and a meaningful part of conversations that are happening in our community. I have enjoyed serving in this community. We work well, the current county council, while the Democrats are in the minority. I'll tell you, we really work in partnership on the council. And so it's really great to have that type of relationship in our community, on that particular governmental body, because that's very rare, I would say, in our community, because the city council and others may not function as well as we do on the county council. The other thing is, initially starting, I hated the campaign process, but it really taught me a lot about, number one, staying true to who I am. And I've tried to do that even now, in my elected role, to not deviate and not allow outside forces to change who I am. I'm a servant at heart. I love people. I love young people. I love education. And so those are things I care about the most, and I'm very vocal on those issues when they come before the council. But I tell you, this job is not for the weak. Let me say that.
But you know what, Stephanie, I gotta ask you though, like, don't we have a whole lot of stuff to be angry about? I mean, I tell you why I asked that question. Every other person on this planet is allowed to be angry, but Black women. Our kids are being murdered in the street. we can't be angry.
That's
And
true.
and I know what you're talking about, though, sis. I really, really do. But it just drives me. The other thing that drives me crazy is that we're not allowed to have emotion. What's wrong with us?
Yeah.
You know.
And I think, but in that, in us, having, that anger or, expressing that, we usually get excused from the table. And so, I've had to sometimes step back and I question, my doing that. But definitely I want to be sure that I'm in the right position to make the most meaningful impact. I hope that I strongly believe that I am serving our community well, and hopefully I will continue to do that.
I love it. Miss Paulette, you've gone through the campaign process and all of that. Talk about the significance of representation and having Black women at the table.
Oh my. Again, like you stated, we are not supposed to have emotions. And when we do show our emotion, it's looked upon as the angry Black woman. But I don't care about that anymore. I used to. I don't care about that anymore because It's too much going on and we must address it. Once I'm elected, I will be the only female on this county council.
What?
This is a council that is totally Republican. They're all white men, and I am the one of only two women of color, Black women, that's running for elected office, if my memory serves me correctly. But I will be the only woman, and it's so important because we have a different perspective. Again, I just want to say this real quick because my grandson plays basketball and he's quite a great basketball player, in my opinion. And so those young men, every team that he's ever played on, the players always look to me as like a mama, And so when we go to the table, we bring a different, we I'm not saying that these men don't care, but we care. We bring that to the table, and it's important that there is a different perspective at that table, that there's a voice. And if I am not elected, then we will have a one perspective type of council. And I'm not saying that these are not individuals that can't think for themselves, but what I'm saying is it will be a conservative board. And I am a liberal. I am my brother's keeper. And I will make sure that the budget is allocated to and the because that's what we do. We make sure we're the physical part of government. So I will make sure, as your elected official, that every proposal that come before me, that I will look at that and not just vote yes because that's the party line. I won't do that. I'm going to make sure that it's in the best interest of my taxpayers and the community. And so that's why it's important that we have a female voice at the table. And it needs to be my voice.
That is so true. And there's so much to do for our communities. And if you don't even recognize what's going on, like, I sometimes mess around with the trolls. I probably shouldn't, but it's entertaining. I get joy out of messing with trolls that don't know what they're talking about. And if you remember back in 2020, there was a whole hoobla blah from some folk who kept saying, well, where are the Black leaders speaking out against, the violence in the communities? And I sent this person article after article after article about elected leaders and Black elected leaders saying, hey, y'all, let's do things differently, right? He didn't like my response. I said, well, wait a second now. You said they weren't doing anything. I showed you what they were doing, and you don't like that I showed it to you. So my thing is, if you haven't been hearing us, we've been begging y'all for 400 years for some things. We've been talking about what we need. We've been talking about what we need for our community, and you ain't heard us. How is it now all of a sudden these people are Black people whisperers? They know what we need in our communities now. They don't know. So that's why it's so important that we are there and we are representing people that they are not familiar with. In many cases, they haven't even spent any time with them. And running for office is not easy. And being an elected official is not easy. So when you're out here and campaigning, you're talking to your constituents. Miss Paulette, I'm gonna start with you this time. Tell us what you've been hearing from your constituents. What are they most concerned with?
Well, right now, the big problem is the jail. So they are very, very concerned about this proposal and where it's going. And the community is very upset that even our elected officials, we have Councilwoman Michelle Chambers,
Mm-hmm.
Councilwoman Sharon Tucker, and Councilman Glenn Hines. These are all people of color. They were left out of the conversation about the planning, and so there is, in fact, there is a organization going. There is something going on right now as we speak to speak to this jail being erected. So that's one thing that I'm hearing from constituents. And another thing that I'm hearing is about there is a problem with overcrowding in the jail, but there's a way that we can fix all that. We don't have to build a big 1,500 bed jail, because if you build it, guess what? You got to fill it.
Mm-hmm. Say it again. They didn't hear you in the back.
And so we must be careful with those type of dollars and making sure that we are at the table speaking about those issues. And right now, that is one of the big issues that I'm hearing about is this prison to pipeline, building the jail, fixing our Southeast quadrant, bringing some economic development to our Southeast quadrant. I mean, we are homeowners, we love our community, and we love our schools. We want to make sure that our schools have quality teachers in them and that they are producing our new generation of highly educated or just workforce ready. And so these are some of the things that I'm hearing from my constituents on out here on the campaign trail.
And what are you hearing, Miss
Paulette?
What are you hearing?
Paulette has said everything that it's like she's in Vandenberg County too, because she has hit the nail on the head and talking about jail overcrowding. I mean, that's one of the things that's really prevalent. Just crime continues to increase in general. But I think it has, a lot to do with, the community wants to see more development in our center city. We're doing a great job in our downtown areas and even, broaden that out to some of the regional work we're doing to attract talent to the community. But again, there are areas and pockets in our community that need further development. And I think that also leads to education and opportunities for kids, alternative educational environments too. I work in a children's museum. And so I love to provide a creative and a different space to learn in. And so we have to even think about that. Do we transform how kids are learning in our community and being sure that teachers are equipped with the resources that they need to be the best that they can for our students. But then also, mental health. We're hearing a lot about the mental health crisis. I think there's some plans in our community for some larger initiatives around mental health. Even even ensuring that we have enough child psychologists available. I think in our community, I think there may be one or two in our community. It might not even be that, but even how do we grow that area so that we can support kids that are struggling, that are truly struggling.
Yeah, and in the environment that we're living in, how could they not be struggling, right? I mean,
Right.
my goodness,
Yeah.
they just witnessed, 10-year-olds being, well, Uvalde. I'm just going to say that. I mean, they're seeing things that we just didn't see, and there's multiple avenues that they're seeing them, right? I know parents think they can police everything their child is watching, but no. And I love that. I'm actually proud to hear that Mental health has always been a tough one, right? We, in our community, it was a long time. We really didn't talk about it. We just would say, Auntie Boo crazy, and then we just go on. But now there's real. We are being more conscious about it. But the things that the two of you brought up, and I hope all of my Turn Left listeners hear this and hear it well. Both of these ladies who are talking to their constituents, and their constituents are worried about education. Black people care about education. We care about educating our kids. So I won't hear no more. We don't want the jails. We want the schools. So if I hear you getting cussed out. That's all.
Dana, can I
Absolutely.
just add to this as well? From my constituents, another thing that I'm hearing, some of the schools in the area that I serve these schools, this area, there's a lack of Black employees in terms of leadership, where like the counselors, and there's a study out that showed that children do better when there's somebody that they can identify with that looks like them. And so that's one thing that I've been pushing, and I am sick of hearing that there is none out there. That it's the notion that we as Black people are not interested in the education process. I think some of the things that we have to remove is some of these educational loopholes that prevents some of our already employees that's working in these schools, that's doing the work. They're working in these positions, but they lack the piece of paper that says that, okay, you can be a counselor, but they're working on getting it. We need to make sure that there's an avenue for them to do it. Internships. Yeah. Put them in some internships so that they can become counselors. So that they can talk. Because sometimes I know for me, I was more comfortable speaking to one of my teachers that looked like me, that said, hey, I'm struggling in this area. And so I was just comfortable talking to that particular teacher. And sometimes we just need somebody that looked like Big Mama, that looks like Paw. We need those kind of people in our schools. And I think there's a disconnect there for whatever reason. And so we need to, I know my constituents are saying that. And so we need to begin to address those issues.
Especially when you consider the typically Officer Billy Bob is who they see as law enforcement. Yes. And Teacher Karen is often being, clutching her purse or trying to tell people, they're doing things negatively to put negative images of white folk into these Black students, so it becomes fear versus, an opportunity to grow and learn humans as human, right? I mean, come on now, we all had to go through our moment of like, so if I cut you gonna bleed if the same way I get cut, because it takes us a while to realize for some of us that they ain't no better than we are, but if you don't put real images of Black and brown people in black and brown spaces, we don't see ourselves, and we can't imagine what we can be. Come on, Stephanie, come on in. That's a good conversation.
It is. We definitely need to, our kids definitely need to see us in leadership, yes. And in a positive light. And so I can truly appreciate your thoughts about that.
I love it. Okay, so y'all out here campaigning. What and you're running for re-election. You're running for you want to show the people what you about. Tell the people what you want to focus on this next term, and what the campaign. And I want to know them campaign plans too. Come on now.
I know for sure I'm definitely going to try to do get out to vote efforts. That's going to be a lot of my time, and actually an event may be centered around maybe it's a Super Saturday where we're encouraging churches and others to come and to do early voting, but also then make it kind of a huge block party. That's something that I hope to work on. But my campaign is going to be pretty light. But I think some of the things that is still very important to me is economic growth. We have again have a huge opportunity. I think most of you are familiar with the Ready initiative, and so the Ready dollars that are coming into communities. I think our community received 53 million or so that will go again into projects around the region. With the end result of growing our economy, and so and good paying jobs and just business expansion. So I'm really excited about what's going to happen there and the projects that are going to come from that. I think the other thing too is again, this year, how this mental health center or crisis, center develops with support from the county council. I'm eager to see progress on that. But then also just, support again in helping businesses recover from, the negative effects of the pandemic. And most importantly, they many times arts and culture gets left out. And so I'm really excited about how the county will support arts and culture this year, and a mental health and moving forward.
I find it interesting that people don't understand the importance of being able to cultivate someone's passion. They may not even realize it's a passion, but they like to draw, they like to play music, they like to sculpt. If you take away someone's ability to, embrace their passion, they're not going to be a whole person. Right. Oh, thank you for bringing that up.
And we know that quality of place is important when we talk about economic development. So you need all of those other assets in order to draw business to your community. And so I think that those are some things that I'm really excited being a part of in our community. I guess it's been a year or so. We had 3 organizations that merged. We had a chamber, economic development coalition. They all merged into one organization. And I tell you, it's really, grown into something really magnificent. I think that's going to be quite beneficial and for our community as a whole.
I love it. So you're going to be new to the council. You've been on the school board. You're going to be new to the council when you win. What are you telling your constituents that you want to work on when you become elected official?
I think Stephanie and I really both, we are echoing the same things. What I'm really focused on, what I've always focused on, is community. And that's what I am telling my constituents, that, communities change I know when I grew up in a community where everyone knew each other, and they embraced and they took care of us, and no matter what, they just took care of us. And so I plan to have a community type healing service.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm going to also use this service to mobilize, because we've already got to register them to vote. But now, how do we get them to the poll? I think 13% of voters in Fort Wayne came out to vote in the primaries. And so we have to change that. And so I want to focus on mobilizing, getting them to the polls. How do we do that? Making sure that they are registered to vote. But the pandemic has, like Stephanie said, this mental illness, we have to address that, because we have not healed. And so there was a lot that went on during this last presidency, and we must begin to come together and heal as a people. And so that it will be a fundraiser type event, but it will also be an event that will, people can come and just lay their burdens down and feel free to lay them down. I have Miss Tony Irby in Fort Wayne, Indiana, who will be a part of it, and Fort Wayne's own Sheila Fleury, who is a songbird minister in music. It's just a healing voice. And so that's what I am planning in the near future. And my core, what I work on is actually core: community, opportunities, building relationships, and economic development. Because the core just think about the core of an apple, the core of anything. It is the most important.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's central that we have a core. And so I like to always say, it's Paulette for the people. I'm for the people.
I love it. And you know what? And both of you said something that I want to touch on. And I love these. That's why I like my conversations to be organic, because you never know. I don't send questions for you to recite answers. I want it to be organic. Y'all both said registering voters and getting people out to vote. Now, we know every cycle, they go find us some skin folk who will run around talking about we shouldn't vote, we shouldn't get involved, ain't nobody doing nothing for us, blah, 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 blah. Stephanie, why are you encouraging people to vote?
Because they need to. I mean, that's the only way that we can make change happen, is if we go to the polls. And so I don't know that there's a time that I haven't voted, and so I just continue to stress that, the importance of it. In addition, to voting, being actively involved in, in local government. There are so many opportunities, whether it's on commissions and boards, just attending meetings and being aware of what's happening in your community, and what, so you can be informed, about what's going on. But it matters. But I think education too, there's still opportunity, even encouraging people to vote. That creates a space for us to educate people about how government works for you. And so ensuring that we do that as part of the process.
I love it, because that's so important, because people don't know how the process, they don't know how the bread is made. Miss Paulette, why are you encouraging people to vote? Because they always try out I almost said it, ooh, they always find them somebody that Harriet Tubman would have left behind to talk about why we shouldn't vote. Tell the people why it's important.
I think my camera is froze, but nonetheless, on the board that I serve, every time I vote, every time there is anything that come before me that I have to vote on, if I am in opposition to what is being presented to me, I vote no, because I'm letting you know that I'm not in agreement with that. So that's why it's so important that you vote. Because when you vote, you're saying, this is the candidate that I want. Whether that candidate wins or not, you still voiced your thoughts and your opinion, and that's your right. You have a right. Too many people died for a right to vote. And that's why I'm telling people, go out and vote. Don't just say my vote don't matter. Yes, it does matter, because you got up and you made the choice to say, I'm going to go in and I'm going to pull that lever for Paulette Nellems, because she's for the people. And so, that makes a difference. And I'm encouraging them, go to the polls, vote your conscience. That way, right now, the issue of women and their bodies, you get to be a part of that process. Say, don't touch my body. I have a right. So you get to be a part of that. And that's why it's so important that you go out and voice what you feel and what you stand on.
I love it.
And that's what I tell them. It's important that you speak up. Let me say this. One of the questions that you asked Stephanie was, what are some of the obstacles that you have encountered, on the campaign trail? When I was running for NAACP president, I had a gentleman tell me, you're a rebel. And you know what? It's okay to be a rebel. You got to have a cause, and I have a cause. So, and then even me being on school board, running for school board, I ran against a 14-year incumbent and beat him. And so, but they don't see that as important. People need to see that school board important, county council important, city council important. And we that's already in these positions need to support those that's trying to get there. That's one of the obstacles that I see, that I've ran into. So vote.
Yeah, and donate to these candidates.
Donate.
Their links are there. You know, I mean, unfortunately, campaigns cost money. And again, don't talk about you down with us, but then don't give us the tangible support that we need. And even though Miss Terry don't have an opponent, I bet because she's a servant, if one of the candidates in Evansville down in Vanderburgh, who needs a little help, may need a little extra, I imagine she might actually send them a little cash. So if you donate to her, she can donate it to somebody else. We got to support these Black women, not with just words, but we got to give them some money too. So please donate to these ladies so they can run their campaign as efficiently and as effectively as everyone else around the state. And I'm so down for that. This has been so wonderful. Y'all, our hours up already. I knew it was, man, it's so wonderful. Okay, so Miss Stephanie, I'm gonna calm down. Tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, on Facebook, you know, I am. If you use the hashtag at Terry for Council with the number 4, they can find me there, and also my email address hopefully will be shared as well if you want to reach me. But Facebook is the easiest way to make connection with me at this time.
I love it. And you said you had some events coming up. So do you have those dates yet or no?
I do not have the dates just yet.
But well, keep us informed because I flashed, if you get a flyer together, I flash those flyers up on the show so people can know what's happening.
Absolutely.
Paulette, tell the people where they can find you.
You know, I can be found on Facebook. It's the Committee to Elect Paulette Nellems. And that is the best, you know, my email is up here, but I am on Facebook. If you really want to reach out to me, that's where you will find me. You can donate at Zelle 260-409-3238. I am just so excited. And I so thank you, Dana, for the work that you're doing, the service that you're providing, because this is actually my first time speaking about my candidacy. So I really thank you for that.
I'm humbled and honored to be that space. I'm sorry that the camera froze, but you know what? One of the things I love you, because you said thank you for sharing your space, and I wanted you to know, no, this is our space. You know, This is a space for us as Democrats to come together in a state that wants to hush us up and hush the things that we care about up. And I want to make sure that every Democrat, you know, has an opportunity. And of course, I'm going to have a special love for my sisters. I mean, it's just going to be that way. I love everybody. Everybody knows that. But ain't enough of us out here. But I will say this. I am not the only one. And I don't know how many more ways I can say that. Here we have 2 incredibly dynamic women with great ideas and great vision for their communities. You don't always have to ask Dana Black. Of course, I say yes, because I like to talk. But if you want to hear from other women who are as passionate about, you know, getting people to the polls, getting people elected who are going to write good policy, here's 2 more. You got one in Southern Indiana and one in Northern Indiana, or Central North, you know. So, but I'm saying that we are sprinkled. I said this a couple of years ago when I did a show with Black women who were associated with the party all over the state. I didn't do any candidates on that show. It was just party people. There are Black women. So when you say that you can't find something, you can't find Black people to be teachers, you can't find Black women or Black people to come speak at your event because you don't want to find them. They got whole colleges and universities full of Black people who are doing nothing but going to school to study education and how to be a teacher. So when you say that you can't find Black teachers, you ain't looking for none and you don't want none. And we got to have diversity of thought. Trust me, no one is happier when I'm asked to speak at an event because I love it. It's my passion. It's what I love to do. But you also need to have diversity of thought. And these women are bringing diversity of thought. There are so many amazing women and women of color, and particularly Black women in our state. I need everyone who believes in what we believe in to also support them. I know I sound like I'm begging, but doggone it, if I gotta do it, I'ma do it. I ain't too proud to beg. All right, y'all, listen, the show's over. It's 7 o'clock. my hours be going by real quick. I love my Kenneth. Thank y'all so much for joining. You guys, I'll see you on Monday at the Capitol building, because I'm gonna be right there fighting for y'all. Because when they get, see, the thing is, once they get done coming for women, they coming for my LGBTQ plus community. They coming for Black people. They threw out hints of Brown v. Board of Education. That means they coming for it. They thinking about it. They thinking about it. They thinking about everything but loving. My interracial couples are safe, thanks to Justice Thomas. And I love that, because he wanted to protect his relationship. You know, justice for me, but not for thee. So come on out on Monday, find these women, support these women. I'll see y'all. I'm going to try to get the crowd riled up, and I'll holler at y'all next time. Peace. Turn Left is the property of Black Pearl IT Solutions. Executive producer, Indiana's own Dana Black. Music by www.bensound.com.